Peace and blessings, and welcome back to the Heritage Hip Hop Podcast, where we introduce you to your future favorite artists today. And today we celebrate an alumnus. He's come back to Heritage Hip Hop. Please introduce yourself to the people, please.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Zyaire, coming out of Brooklyn, New York, Crown Heights to be specific. You know, I'm just holding it down for the city, representing.
The first time I talked to you, I was introduced to your music, and we talked about how you have different places you like to go in your sound.
Right.
This project is very focused.
All right. Thank you.
What did you want to do with this project that you didn't with your last?
So with the last one, I valued it mainly because it was like my first introduction to, recording vocals. So, that kind of process, it was different for me, but I still want to take a stab at it, essentially. So with this project, I wanted to elaborate and kind of have like a focus storytelling aspect. So that's why I felt like the lo-fi boom bap kind of production style was the best form fitting. So once I tapped into that, I was like, yeah, let me just go ahead and write my life out and just put it out. So that was it.
You did an excellent job because your sound grew in this project. For everybody who doesn't know, the project is called Memoirs of an Old Soul, correct?
Yes, sir.
It's available for purchase. And if you want to stream as well. All right. Now, I want to get into the songs on this project, but first, let's re-educate everybody on who you are, because now they get to see your face, not just hear your voice.
Right.
All right. So you're from Brooklyn.
Yep.
What side of Brooklyn are you from?
I'm from Crown Heights.
Everybody outside of New York, we have a love for Brooklyn, but we don't really know Brooklyn. Because it's always been said that Brooklyn and Newark, New Jersey has a secret love affair because they like two of the same. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And Brooklyn has different sides and different identities. I asked you this before, but now that you've matured your sound, how does Brooklyn come out of your sound?
Well, really, like through and through with the whole project, just me being from New York, like that's, a main thing that I caption, not only in the music, but you will see in my visuals, I actually have a video for Sincerely Zyaire, which I shot, outside the Barclays Center a couple months ago. So, now I'm working on some visuals for this project, but mainly it's like, for the people that's outside of New York or maybe never been to New York, I really want to, broadcast and show y'all not only through, through the music, but you can actually see where I'm talking about and all those places like that. So now you can put a name to a face and really know what I'm talking about.
What is New York today when people think about music? Because everybody always refers to the 90s, but they never refer to the 2000s when it comes to New York. So what is New York today when it comes to hip hop?
New York today is definitely the drill scene and more so the melodic wave. Like that's changed with artists like Pop Smoke and J.I. Prince and, other people that have their different creative directions. But really it's a melting pot. New York is one of those places where, you can see the diamonds, but if you really searching, you can still find some good gems that you may not have known about, So it's all up to you to look.
See, the thing about Brooklyn, especially to me, is Brooklyn always has that identification as being the hardest. You know what I'm saying? That's why people at Brooklyn keeps on taking it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And yesterday was the anniversary of the death of Sean Price. So in Jersey, that's a big deal to us because we are MOP, Sean Price, Jigga, Biggie, Big Daddy Kane. You know what I'm saying? Like it goes deep when it comes to Brooklyn and Jersey.
Right.
And when we see new artists come out of Brooklyn, we wonder if that's going to be the hearkening of that old sound or bringing in the new sound. How does the new sound of Brooklyn elevate the old sound of Brooklyn?
Well, really, it's kind of like, it's like a stepping stone. The stuff that came out in the 90s, although like the certain production style may be different, that music still set the tone for what is to come today. Same thing with music that came out in the 80s and so forth. I feel like it's all a stepping stone with the foundation. So, the sound is only going to change as the time goes on because that's just time, really. But I feel like it's only enhanced it. it's only made it better for real, because now there's a lot more technology. There's a lot of things that's more advanced now where somewhat, you know, even though in the 90s, the stuff that they had was great, the technology was limited, you know? So now that we have more technology and things are more advanced, you know, we can only keep pushing the mode.
So in your development from this project, from the last project, how did technology or your advancement come through to develop this newer look or newer sound that you wanted to create?
Well, really, it started before technology. You know, it just took me to really reflect, you know, talk about some things that really happened in my lifetime. But now it's a difference between writing poetry and writing music. Although they go hand in hand, you get more in depth and more personal as there's more instruments and those kinds of things that's involved with making it a full song. So I feel like that's where it started before technology, but really just me understanding, you know, the tools that I need to create and just being more efficient in how my step-by-step approach. I feel like that really helped.
When we talked last time, you talked about your longevity and making music that's going to like surpass your life. This one, you talked about the memoirs of an old soul. Now, memoir is a written account for somebody to remember someone in their past or for their greatness. What is the memoir of an old soul as you define it, not just how people may define the words?
Well, really, it kind of came about as like one of those concepts. I was kind of brainstorming, you know, where I would go next creatively. And then I had said memoirs of an old soul, not really thinking much of it, but I was like, wow, that sounds pretty deep. Let me write that down. So I wrote it down. And actually the first beat that I made from the project was reminiscent initially. So it kind of went hand in hand. Once I made the beat and I read the title, I'm thinking to myself, okay, like the old school 90s type vibe is different because it's not a lot of people that's really trying to go back to that point in history. But I feel like it's definitely something that I've seen for myself performing these songs. Like they have the ability to touch people and you know, really just bring out the best in them, and like it changes the energy in the room. And I was like, I don't ever want to lose that. So that's what I'm talking about in this one, really.
I'm feeling that because this one was more of a complete project because they had a theme to it.
Right.
It wasn't just you making songs and stretching your wings. You actually had a focus point to this one.
Right. Right.
And I want to begin with the baby picture. Tell me about the baby.
Well, yeah, that was one picture that my mom, I don't know what year it was, but I seen it and I had the basketball, my favorite sport, my first. So I felt like right there, you know, I'm balling on everybody with that one. So that was my mindset. And it's like when, you know, when you see somebody with, or the title of it, Memoirs of an Old Soul, you more so would picture like somebody that's an older person, like a senior citizen, but the old soul would be me because, you know, that's a name that I kind of adopted over the course of years, you know, with family members and just other people that's older than me. You know, they will always be like, yeah, you know, through talking to me, they be like, yeah, you got an old soul. So I was like, you know, there must be a reason why people keep saying this to me. So I just put it all together, you know.
Let's get philosophical. What is the eldest point of creation that man can see on the planet?
That man can see on the planet.
It's been around since the beginning of man. What is it?
I don't know.
Birth.
I was thinking I had to be human related. I felt like it had to be human. I didn't know which way you was going with it. But
Well, think about, I'll bring it up this way because a baby picture, look, I'm gonna show you something. Check this out. This might make you laugh. See, the baby picture in hip hop is very, very significant. You know, Biggie's album, Nas's album, Lil Wayne's albums, you know, because you're showing a beginning, a marking point to how people will look at you. And then as they hear your music, you're birthing your maturity as a man to the listener so they could come into your world.
Right.
So birth is the eldest form of expression because it's the beginning of every story. Okay. What was the point of this story that you wanted people to get when they completed listening to the project? And I want to ask you this before we go into the songs.
Really, I kind of want to take you back to my childhood. So mainly from the late 90s, really up until recently, honestly. It's really a documentation of things that have been happening my whole life. I use the baby picture, obviously, because it's an attention grabber, obviously, but it plays significance to me because that was one picture out of all of the pictures or baby pictures that I had. That one really stood out to me. And not even just to put it as a cover art for an album, but I just felt like, that picture perfectly captivated what I wanted to say along with the project, as well as the music and everything. I feel like that one picture embodied everything. So that was the one that I definitely had to go with for a fact.
I'm feeling that because whenever we see babies, we go to, oh, how sweet, knowing that life is going to bite that baby in the ass eventually. Like, look at you now. You're not a baby no more. You got tattoos and everything. Your hair is wild. You got a nose ring.
Right.
You've pruned your life tree to know that you like music and you like basketball. Got Kyrie Irving on your wall. Shout out to that's New Jersey basketball, y'all, by the way. So, I mean, like, life is about not only the elevation, the steps that you take through experience, it's also dealing with trauma. And you deal with a little bit of trauma in this project too, because you talk about fakeness, you talk about doubt, and you also go through your creation. Let's touch on the loner speaks. Tell me about that track and where you were going with it.
Okay, so originally, once I first made the beat, I heard the piano melody.
Pianos are dope.
Thank you. I heard the piano melody. I was like, I have to stop everything to make sure I get to this beat and finish it. So I actually was at work when I was brainstorming the chorus. And for some reason, when I say cold as a winter Sunday, flowers and made a bloom, I had been going to church for a little while, my senior year of high school. And it was one Sunday where I came out to church and it was freezing. I had a peak coat, scarf, everything, top to bottom. And it was so cold. Like, that was a Sunday I will always remember because that's how cold it was. So that was like part of the hook and everything like that. But once I threw the drums behind it and a little drum break towards the end, and I played it back, I was like, yeah, this is definitely something special. So let me just go ahead and lay this down. And that was that.
See, when a loner speaks, though, everybody listens, because if somebody's always in the crowd and the crowd is very vibing and everybody's all up and stuff, right? Everybody loses the words because it's just be expected. But when the loner opens their mouth, see, that's when the lesson starts, because now it's like, oh, what is that person going to say? Because they're very quiet. How has hip hop taken you out of your quietness and put you into a more speaking role?
Really, it just gave me another avenue of expression. Like, my demeanor hasn't changed, although I'm an artist and I'm taking more leaps in terms of putting myself out there creatively. I'm still a reserved person by nature, but it's like you have to know how to use your voice because you can't be passive all the time. So when there's a time there's things that need to be said, you just gotta, say it. So that's never a problem for me. I just choose to be more laid back and reserved and observant, that kind of thing. But I felt like hip hop really it broadened my voice, because it gave me the ability to reach people in many ways from, just from where I'm at in my life and everything like that. Like, I can reach people overseas and everything. I'm talking to you, but we in two different areas, So it broadens my voice and my horizon.
Has hip hop ever made you feel lonely though?
Not hip hop. I felt lonely in life at certain points just through trials and tribulations, but not hip hop specifically.
The reason why I asked that is because we do a lot of alienating in hip hop. Old school, new school, drill, trap, boom bap, etc. And people like to paint corners in boxes.
Right.
And that's some of the most loneliest feelings people can have, because when you ever showcase your talent and people put you in a box, they try to stunt your growth.
Right, definitely.
What is the most elevating point of hip hop that makes you know that you're never alone in it, and through your expression, people come to you so that you're never alone in that aspect as well?
Well, being able to impact people through the music, I feel like that is the most fulfilling thing. When I had started doing music originally, like I always wanted to help people or use my past trauma and pain and trials and tribulations because everybody has their own story to tell. But I had noticed through, producing and writing and recording my own music and everything like that, that a lot of people were telling me like, yeah, I related to this, or I understand where you coming from and everything like that. So those kinds of things all played a part into it.
That's dope because part of telling your story is being heard.
Right.
And reminiscing, the second track, you're trying to tell a story, but my fear is most people lose the words in the beat because you put it together very well.
Thank you.
And reminiscing means you're bringing somebody into your world. What did you want them to catch and see, hear and see when it came to that song?
Well, definitely, like I said, a depiction of New York, but it's like, for me, being that I was able to go away to school, I seem like a lot of people's perception of New York is like only Manhattan. And the stereotypical thing that they could say is like, oh, the Timbs and rats and all the those other trivial things. But it's like it's more elements and more dynamics to New York, just what you see on TV. Like Manhattan is a real place, don't get me wrong, but it's still 93rd Street where things happen on the regular, in places where I'm from and places where I lived and grew up at, where I've seen things. It's like the glitz and the glamour, yes, that's one reality, but it's not the entire reality. So that's what I really want to bring to the people, especially, like I said, the people that haven't been to New York. Like, you can see this on TV and it may look nice, but there's also the real that's going on every day that people, they still trying to get up out of. Not everybody is as fortunate. So, just talking for those people as well.
All right. So before we go to Through My Eyes, Look Through My Eyes, right? Because Through My Eyes is a dope track. Now, that's the one that really made me go, because on the track you go vocal. You know what I'm saying? But Through My Eyes, right? I wanted to ask you this question. We ain't going to go basketball yet. We're going to say that to the end. Okay. But I want to go Through My Eyes because whenever you see something through another person's eyes, you get their feelings, you get their emotions. Do you understand that New York is one of the most feared places in the world? Why do you think New York is so feared when it comes to the world?
I think there's a lot of stereotypes that comes with it. A lot of those people who make those kind of stereotypes either haven't been there or they getting a lot of their knowledge from TV. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a certain false perception. Like you could really talk about an experience if you lived and walked through it. But if you only seeing it and you not really living it, you're not going to be able to expand on it the same way a person who lived that reality will. So I feel like that's more or less what's going on.
Check this out. Every time I look on the news, somebody's getting shot. I think in Brooklyn yesterday, they talked about a woman who walked up to a woman and shot in the head, right? Rest in peace to that family, that woman and their family. That's affected, the community affected as well. New York is one of the ugliest places when you look at television. Crime, 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 crime. And now y'all governors manhandling women in the office. You know what I'm saying? Now, I've been to New York countless of times. New York is one of the most cultural diverse places that could feed your mind, body, soul, and spirit at the same time.
Right.
Like y'all used to have the Fulton Street Mall, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that was one thing. Then you got the Barclays Center. That's another thing.
Yep.
Y'all had Hebrew Israelites in Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? Juniors was there, right? That's Brooklyn.
Juniors, yep.
Right. So there was landmarks there, right? Then if you had the hip hop, you knew St. Mark's Ave, Saratoga, LES, Crown Heights, Marcy, Clinton Hills. You had all them areas.
Right.
I'm not going to travel all over New York, but everybody go to New York, go to every borough is beautiful. New York has a lot of beautiful things to it. But the perception of New York is it's one of the hardest places to make it. But if you make it, it's nothing like it. Why do you think it's so important for people to understand New York through your eyes and understand your music through your eyes?
Man, actually, I'm glad that you asked me this. I had went to not a press conference. It was like a little music conference when I was at school. So the school that I went to was in Virginia. So one
Nice.
of this, he was actually talking about New York, and he was trying to, basically what he was saying is that there isn't a lot of opportunities for people in the state of Virginia, from what he was saying, which I can agree that is true. And he was basically saying that New York is so much easier to make it there because there's so much more opportunities. And I was kind of like thinking to myself, like, that's not really true, because regardless of where you go, you still have to get to that opportunity. You still have to put that work in to receive that blessing. It's not like just because you're in an area where there's multimillionaires, you step outside that you're just not no, you still have to put in the work, you know? So I felt like that's somebody who hasn't lived in New York, informing other people about the opportunities, painting the false perception. So you haven't lived that life to know what those opportunities really look like. So to just downplay just because there's so many, I felt like, he doesn't really know what he's talking about. So I say all that to say, um, when I say through my eyes, really, it's like, don't be so quick to write somebody off. If you hear a situation or other situation, really take time to analyze both sides, because you're not going to really get the full gist of the story listening to one side. Just do the other person the same service. If you can hear an accusation and automatically think it's true, do that same research to find out if the person who is making the accusation or whatever the case, like both sides, understand it from both sides of the spectrum is all I'm saying.
I respect that because, like I said, I've been in New York and it wasn't like, oh, you like hip hop? Or here's everything hip hop that you need to know. It's
Mm-hmm.
never happened. It's
Mm-hmm.
never happened. And I've been waiting to go back to Brooklyn for a long time to meet somebody that I really, really, really respect.
Mm-hmm.
Helps me with this craft as well, and to pay homage as well. Through my eyes, right? It's like one of them songs that if you're an introspective person, it'll make you reflect. If you're an extrovert, you may miss the message because being made is different than becoming.
Mm-hmm.
What did you make on this, and how did you become that?
Well, what I made the overall sound, which I handcrafted myself. And as for the other part, really, it's just a manifestation of previous things that I've gone through. Like I said, all of this project, everything, every song ties into trials and tribulations, where I'm touching on the subject to where it's like, if you sit down and you listen, you're like, you can see not only what I'm talking about, but you get to know my story, my background. And I'm pretty sure at some point you've met a person who that you thought was cool that turned fake. You may have had to deal with some kind of death in the family or something like that. Like, it's all situations that we all go through, but I'm just really telling you my story and my chain of events that happened.
So, what's the biggest teacher for you in this project? Was it experience or was it expression?
It was more so reflection, just reflecting on, my life as, a younger kid, then growing up through my adolescence and now being in my adult years, just reflecting on all those character building moments, that without those moments, I don't know if I would be who I am today. I don't know if I would have that same drive and ambition had I not gone through those certain things. So that's really what I want to get across to the audience.
Let's get this across to the audience. Memoirs of an Old Soul is out right now by Zyaire. Make sure y'all go check it out. I say purchase it, but it's available to stream as well. Heritage Hip Hop is not about purchasing. We really don't want people to rent your music. We want people to help build your solidify your notch, because there's one thing to have something out, but it's another thing when people appreciate you and buy it.
Right.
And everybody out there, this is a project worth listening to. So stream it, and if you like it, enjoy it, but buy it. You know what I'm saying? Because there is something on here that you're really gonna like. I could guarantee you that. And knowing a little bit more about this artist through his sound, I'm going to ask you this question. You're not scared to express yourself. You push yourself in ways other artists don't. I've noticed that. I noticed that you like to be like, yeah, everybody's doing that. Let me try this. Let me just try it at least once. And I guess you like the freedom of the expression as well, right?
Yes, definitely.
So tell me about Can I Live and where you were going with that track.
Really was like how that came about is like I was actually on a little brief intermission. Like I hadn't been producing anything or writing anything. And I had just been in that creative mode. I'm like, I gotta get back to it. So, again, I started laying down the instrument tracks and I was trying to come up with a chorus, but Can I Live just kept playing in my head. And I'm like, okay, I wrote the whole verse. I couldn't come up with nothing for the chorus, but Can I Live? And I'm like, okay, I must have to say this right now. So once I laid down the initial demo, I was like, yeah, I like this overall vibe because it's different. It's a more melodic vibe, but it still captures the essence of the project. But it's like a standout, distinguished record as well. So
Your vocal on this track though.
yeah.
So why did you stretch your voice that way to add that to the project?
Really, I make music based off of feeling. So I try not to overcomplicate the feeling process of music. Like, if it feels good to me and it feels right, don't question it, don't second guess it. And in terms of that type of delivery, I really felt like it was just broadening my sound and just being bold. You got to try something new. And I felt like that was a pinnacle or a sound that I can achieve and I knew I could do. I just had to figure out how. And once I did, I just went for it.
And that's bravery. And a lot of people aren't brave in music. Everybody follows the same template.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Before we go to Memoirs, which is the last song on it, yes, everybody, it's a 5-track. It's a 5-track project, which I think you really should check out. How did the beats come to you for this? Were you following an inspiration pattern or was this planned out?
Both, to a degree. Like I had told you previously, my first introduction to music was the 90s hip hop era. So even though I was born in like the tail end of it and I got like the last little leftovers of it, I still got it. And what I didn't have readily accessible, it was BET and other music channels. So I was always into music. So like I said, Reasonable Doubt, Illmatic, albums like that, 36 Chambers of Death, Do or Die, stuff like that. Like all of that is like what I grew up listening to because that's Brooklyn, that's New York in general, So that era of boom bap is synonymous with the city. So you're gonna hear that. So for me, that's the kind of music that I also appreciated as well as others. So that's kind of what I wanted to base it off of, mainly because it had that storytelling aspect, which goes hand in hand with the project.
The project is very expressive. So what does a memoir express? And why did you make that track the way you did? Because it sounds different than everything else besides the vocal track.
Right. So the memoir really would just be like, for me, a detailed description of, whatever events that took place. And really the in terms of the beat, it was different. I don't know, it was just a different vibe. How it came together. I actually produced that beat or started laying down the tracks the day that Kobe had passed away. So God rest his soul. But that it like had that same tragic, that same feel, that same moment of sorrow. And I felt like there was a lot of people that I had lost along the journey of making it. So I felt like that was also a good way to honor them and, just talk about the people that I know that had passed through it as well.
I want to commend you on this project because this project really bent the air a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And you made it mixtape style too. Don't think I didn't catch that because you say Memoirs of an Old Soul throughout the whole thing, like you're linking the songs together. Was there a template that you wanted to follow in the creation of the entire project, or you just went,
No, really. What happened is like, the reason why I said in these are Memoirs of an Old Soul is because one is introducing the project. So when I say another story is told, as you move on, a different story is being presented to you throughout the project. And then I say the journey unfolds, which is me, really stepping out there as an artist. So it all has its significance and its meaning, and it all plays a role in it.
So right about now, I think we're finished with the main part of the interview.
Okay.
Memoirs of an Old Soul is a good project. Like I said, once again, when I heard it, I really was like enlightened because I was like, he grew. He didn't do what other people do, just put out music, put out music, put out music, put out music. You grew and then you expressed yourself. Why is documenting your growth as important as the memoir of the old soul?
I feel like, growth is something, it's good to acknowledge within yourself. Like before you even, want to showcase your growth to the world, you have to, know that you've grown within yourself. And that is a whole different beast because like the love and approval of somebody else is always going to be different than when you have that love and approval of yourself. And I felt like that was just the best way to capture it. Like it was the best way to do it. Just give it some time, let it fester, let my sound, let me get better with, all the intricate details of making music and then really release it when I'm genuinely ready for it to be a thing. So I'm glad I took my time, honestly.
I'm glad you did as well because this project is worth it. So give everybody your social media and how they can contact you and get the project.
Okay. All right. So I have a website. It's called I am Zyaire, Zyaire music.com. My Instagram and Twitter is official __ Zyaire. And you can find me on Apple Music and Spotify and all other streaming platforms at Zyaire.
But make sure you buy the project
So
because it's at the end of the day, he has good music. And if you want to rent your music, that means you don't have the music that you really like. So if you like anything or love his music, I ask you, please buy it. So not only you have your music, but you also sow into the artist as well, because then you're showing them how much you appreciate his art, his sound, and his growth in delivery. Do you agree?
Yes, I definitely do.
Hey, man, I like the project. Can't front. Something I'm going to post up on heritagehiphop.com, Heritage Hip Hop Instagram. So follow me everywhere. I'm going to ask you some questions now. As you know, it's called the rapid fire questions, which are not yes, no questions. These are questions dedicated to your understanding of yourself, your knowledge of hip hop culture and music. You ready to go?
Yep.
Because I like you.
All right.
I'm going to go basketball today because he's a basketball head.
Right.
If you had to compare your last project and this project to two different players, who would they be?
Two different players. Okay. I would probably say KD for a fact. And I feel like KD and Kyrie, really.
Whoa, which one is KD? The elder project or the newer project?
KD is the newer project.
Explain that, please.
Because I felt like there was a lot of growth with KD, how he played this season. And really, like, although we didn't get to make it as far as I hope that we would have, I'm still, I feel proud for KD because he came back off an injury that, a lot of people don't really have that same bounce back. You know what I'm saying? Even when he was in and out the lineup, he was still dropping 30, plus, So I felt like with the growth that he had as a player coming off that injury, I felt like you got to give him his respect. It was like they was doubting him so much, and now that he doing what he doing, winning gold medals, it's like, what you gonna say now? They said he couldn't lead the team. He had a triple-double. That was a historic performance.
And how's Kyrie, your last project? And give them the name of the last project too, so they can check it out.
Yeah, so the name of my last project is Sincerely Zyaire. And I feel like Kyrie, definitely because it was how versatile he is. Like he has different ways to get into the basket. And that project, Sincerely Zyaire, is more, versatile in terms of the sounds and the different areas that I'm trying to go into and everything like that.
I like that. See, that's what I mean, yo. That's what I talk about growth, because this young man not only is making music, but he's connecting his love of music to his favorite sport. So now I got to get him again.
Okay.
Part of what made the Brooklyn Nets pop this year was y'all traded for that fat point guard, shooting guard, small forward, James Harden, right? Salute to James Harden. Right. I want to ask you a question. Versatility is what makes a player establish themselves as a great player. Mm-hmm. So that is the mark of an artist as well. Mm-hmm. So you know how James Harden can step back, he go off the dribble, he can pass, he has exceptional talent.
Right.
How did your versatility grow in this project? And how are you showing it in different aspects on this project?
Well, mainly through the sound and production. So the versatility is there with that because, you know, with the boom bap production style, it's kind of different. And mainly like a lot of people, like I said, they not really going back that far to do it. But I kind of wanted to modernize it and bring it up to, you know, modern day terms. And as well as versatility in terms of using my voice differently. Like Can I Live was, I don't know if it was like a R&B kind of track, but I definitely felt like it was more of a grounded, you know, expansion of who I am as an artist. So I felt like with that, the vocal delivery, the flows, the rhyme schemes, all of that show versatility from the last project.
I want to show you a picture. Can you
Okay.
see that?
Yeah.
This picture is called The Big Six.
Okay.
Shout out to Kayla Middleton of Jersey City. The
Mhm.
Big Six is Pac,
Mhm.
Big, Nas,
Mhm.
Jay, and J. Cole. But you
Okay.
see, New York has all of these artists here. And North Carolina is the outreach. We always talk about how New York or hip hop has traveled out and got bigger. How did hip hop make you bigger? Not in age, not in experience, but in perception of life.
In perception of life, it really opened my eyes to like people in other areas. Like when you think about how the Chicago drill wave came about, like that is something that's completely different from New York, but they still had their own story to tell. And really, when you think about like how the South kind of had the hip hop game in the headlock, in like '05 to '07, and really in like the early 2010s with like Migos and stuff like that. Like it's a lot of people and a lot of talent out there, you know, throughout the US, you know, so it really gives you a chance to really see how people in other places than you, like how they really go about their creativity and everything like that.
Hey man, I like ball. Let's
Right.
continue. Not my favorite sport, but salute to all the NBA players and anybody who play ball. Because the thing that makes basketball hip hop is anybody could pick up a ball and go to a park and experience the culture. Everybody can't play ball. You got people who play ball, and then you have ball players. You know the difference, right?
Yeah.
Hip hop is the same way because everybody swear they can rhyme, but everybody can't put patterns and soliloquies together. And some people can't make melodies and make cacophonies. You know the difference. You know what I'm saying? So here's my question to you. If Zyaire was comparing his journey in hip hop to the journey of a rookie through in the NBA, where would he be in his NBA journey?
Where would I be in my NBA journey? Right now, I'd definitely be re-signing, you know, my rookie contract would be through. You know, now I'm getting the big bucks, you know what I'm saying? So and I'm being number one point guard on the team, you know, all that, you know, started everything. So I definitely be in like maybe my third season.
Okay, so you're the point guard. That's your favorite position.
Yep.
You know how people say who's your top 5 MCs?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to ask you that.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you who are your top MCs or who would they be as point guards in the league?
Okay. Top 5 MCs. Okay, I definitely say Jay-Z. So for number one. So I would say he's more like I feel like he's more like a John Stockton, really, when you think about it. Yeah, when you think about it, because think about how he had the whole Rockefeller campaign, and then he had the dynasty. You know, he was able to dish everybody off in their own kind of way. He had that hand in, you know, playing their success and everything like that. So I feel like John Stockton. For Jay-Z. Number 2 would be Tupac. And I feel like he would be like Westbrook, just based off of how expressive and like not vulgar, but like he puts an emphasis and he plays with aggression. I felt like, you know, Tupac represented the best of both worlds in terms of intellect and aggression. You know, I feel like he was like that balance in between. I feel like number 3 um would be Big. And I would put him like kind of like at that Steph kind of level. Because he really revolutionized hip hop. Like he really made it not necessarily trendy, but his energy and his whole presence was just different when he got on the scene in '94. I say number 4 would be Nas. So I would say somebody like CP3 would really be like Nas, because I feel like, they both got that laid back, in the cut type of demeanor, but they still got that leadership, veteran like kind of aura to them, that alpha mentality. And number 5, I would put Big L, but I really don't know who would. Actually, no, I say Kyrie. I say young Kyrie. You want to know why? Because when young Kyrie first came in the league, they ain't know what to do with him. They didn't know what to do with him. Like, they couldn't really guard him like that, except for like older players like Kobe, because he experienced. But like for the rest of the league, like Ricky Rubio and all them other dudes, they didn't know what to do with him.
I like your list. Who would you say Big remind you of again? What point guard was that?
Steph.
Wow, that's interesting. See, we could talk about this a couple times over. You know what I'm saying? Salute to basketball. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Basketball is hip hop, and hip hop is basketball. So it's funny how you almost put everybody on this picture. Oh, yeah, Liz.
Almost, yeah.
Big L, rest in peace. That's what's up. I think I come to the last 3 questions of this interview, and I thank you for giving me the chance to interview you again. It's an honor, believe me.
Thank you. It's an honor for me as well. I appreciate
it much. I want to ask you this. You can only grow more.
Mm-hmm.
And growth comes from experience.
Mm-hmm.
What is the one experience you think that'll take you to your next level of development that you haven't even experienced yet? So you think?
The one experience, maybe going on tour. That might be that one thing, because that's a very monumental point in your career, especially your first go around. So because that hasn't happened as of yet, I feel like going on tour.
Did you ever see the movie The 5 Heartbeats?
Yes, I did.
Remember, he said, Duck. He said a reviewer of his music said he will not be a great writer until he feels more.
Mm-hmm.
See, a lot of people try to put their life experience on you,
mm-hmm.
so that you could become the man they want you to be.
Right.
How fulfilling is it to be the artist and the man you want to be, and I have somebody tell you this is the road that you have to take because there's no template to your style?
Honestly, I just want to tell like anybody in the audience, like there's power and freedom and ownership. Like it's power and freedom and ownership. Like I can only be but so brief, but like I said, it's power and freedom and ownership. And when you know the creative direction that you want to go, and you have that idea and you have the freedom to do that, just go ahead and capture that moment, because you're not limited. Nobody can box you in. You set your own glass ceiling, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? You set your own terms and conditions. And I feel like that's the best way to live, like on your own terms. So
before we get out of here, give a testimony. How'd you like your second interview on Heritage Hip Hop?
Loved it. It was better than the first. I was looking forward to really coming back, because I like the way that you get in depth. You know what I'm saying? You go back in people's discography, and it's always a genuine like appreciation mutually. So I like I said, I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you for giving me something to learn, reflect, and just grow from. Because one thing I hate, and I'm gonna say this before we finish off on 2 points. The first major point is this: thank you for being creative, and don't ever stop your creation. The second one is a lot of people of elder age, or y'all younger people, think we look down on y'all,
mm-hmm.
or that we're gonna just say something ignorant to you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to you said you went to church. Did you really study the Bible a lot and things? Did you?
I can say I wasn't really like nose deep in the Bible, but okay. I did understand the core concepts of why certain things are in place, and how to pray and things like that.
Let me tell you a story from the Bible real quick that's going to remind you of you.
Okay.
You remember the story of Job?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody talks about how God and the devil did something, had a conversation, and Job suffered, right? Everybody talks about how Job suffered to the end, and then God gave him back what he lost and all that, right? One of the most important things that happened in Job was that Job and his friends was talking about God in a way that, they were like kind of coming at God in their group. And it was a younger man, a younger generation person who had to check them to make them understand their place in the world, their place in relation to God, and who are they supposed to be in relation to setting an example for somebody else. So I just wanted to tell you, don't let any elder artist or elder person ever try to downplay you as a man or your music, because your point and your purpose in the world is not theirs. It's for you to understand, and it's for you to grow from. We all deal with things, but I'm gonna tell you this, man to man. I'm proud of you as a man, and I want you to be your own man, because in being your own man, you're gonna teach more than you explain through your actions. So just be consistent, always believe in yourself. And the quote from Nas' album, what you believe in yourself is the key, or what others believe in you is irrelevant. So just keep believing in yourself, all right?
All right, thank you.
And that's the truth. So with that being said, before we get out of here, everybody make sure August 28th at 8 p.m. you come to Heritage Hip Hop on YouTube for the Heritage Hip Hop Awards. This year, Saturday, August 28th at 8 p.m., we're giving awards away for Collab of the Year, Artist of the Year, 2 Projects of the Year. We're doing Collab of the Year, and we're going to acknowledge the Govmatic Award and other awards for people who have taken hip hop to the next level and not just beats or rhymes. So make sure you join us by subscribing to Heritage Hip Hop on YouTube. Follow us on all social media, and also heritagehiphop.com. All members of the website right now get the free album F M All by the No Good Bastards, and you get other exclusives as well. So with that being said, before we close out, once again, I want to thank you. And here's the final question, which is different from the question before. And since you like basketball, we're going to make it a basketball question. Who's your favorite player ever?
It's kind of like a deadlock between Mike and KD.
Perfect. Here's your final question. Michael Jordan is loved for killer tenacity and never losing when it all counted championship wise. KD is hated because he plays ball the right way and he uses the system at his leisure. As an MC artist and participant in building the culture to its next level, why do people hate you yet appreciate your greatness at the same time when it comes to music?
I feel like mainly because when you put yourself out there, you open yourself up to the critique floor. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people, if they're more casual and they're not really trying to get to connect with you as a person before an artist, they're gonna be more quick to write you off and judge you. But the people, you'll notice that the people that really lock in with you and that's really staying solidified with you, they care about you more so as a person than the artist. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's the difference, just like a day and night kind of thing.
So everybody recognize that appreciation comes from knowing the artist and accepting their growth. All artists of this next and new generation are growing in front of our eyes in real time, and it's up to us to appreciate them by showing them that they are appreciated. Say thank you and listen to what they're saying, because expression is the hardest thing. Whether you like it, love it, hate it, or don't want it, God made us to express. It says in the Bible that if man closed his mouth, the rocks would sing and give God his glory. And so hip hop, being an expression of God, an extension, is our way to express. So once again, shout out to Zyaire. His new project, Memoirs of an Old Soul, is out now, and listen to the expression, because not only is their music there good for your ears, it's good for your spirit and your soul as well. With that being said, this is Kareb at Heritage Hip Hop with my man Zyaire. Brooklyn is up in here saying peace, and we out. Thank you for watching our presentation. We ask that you subscribe to our YouTube family and hit the notification bell for updates. Please like, comment, and share this video.
Real hip-hop. Real hip-hop. We here.